Good evening. Hello, I am Sharona. You are watching The Zone Blitz. This is the weekly Tuesday night webcast produced by NFL Female, and we are very, very happy to be joined by Liz, our NFL Female guru, the lady who makes all of this possible. I couldn't be more excited to have her join us on the show, as well as our girl Kate, who I got a chance to meet and hang out with over the weekend. So a very exciting show tonight. By the way, I am the official Titans fan reporter for NFL Female. You can follow me on Twitter right there as Sports by Sharona. I am going to bring in my lovely and talented co-host, Sonja, who it's always a pleasure to be able to talk football with. And Jennifer has joined us. Yay! Hi, Jennifer.
I had a little technical difficulties.
No,
it's okay. It's covered.
It would not be the Zone Blitz without a few problems, right, Sonja?
That's right.
All right. Well, I'm going to kick it over to Sonja and let her bring everyone in, and we thank you for tuning in. Sonja, take us away.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sonja. I'm the official NFL female fan reporter for the Detroit Lions, my boys in Honolulu blue and silver. So excited to be here. So excited to be here, you guys, and get to talk about this past weekend's events of the Hall of Fame, and my sisters got to meet each other, so that was so awesome. So first, I'm going to kick it over to Liz and introduce our guru, the woman who, without her, none of us would be here right now. Yeah. I mean, we would be here, but we would be here talking with each other. So, Liz, tell us all about yourself.
Thank you, everyone. And you ladies are awesome, and it was so much fun getting together with you. And next year, we're going to do it again. We're going to make it an annual event to have the sisterhood gathering at Canton for Hall of Fame weekend, and so it's going to be wonderful. It's definitely quite the weekend. You don't get a lot of sleep. And but it's so much fun, and it's football all weekend long, and it's so great. So do you want me to talk about my flight home?
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the Pro Football Hall of Fame weekend. You can tell us about the flight home. I have to say, the great thing about Canton is all the history and the tradition there. It really was just an honor to be able to be there, wasn't it, Liz?
It definitely was. It really takes you back to the history of the NFL and how many players have played in the NFL and just the lives that have been dedicated. These men are amazing, and they're the superstars of the game. And it's also about the families who have supported them so that the athletes could do what they needed to do. And so there's a lot of the moms get mentioned quite often, and the wives and the kids, and it's so great to be a part of it. You really feel it is wonderful.
Yeah, it really is. I'm going to bring Kate in real quick. Kate, you were there with us. It was so great to meet you, and we want to thank you again for your hospitality. You were wonderful. Your family is wonderful. What stood out to you this weekend, Kate?
Oh, my family's crazy, and it was great having you guys here. If my video goes out, I didn't go anywhere. It's just sometimes when the internet connection slows down, I turn the camera off, and it seems to keep the Google from throwing me out. So if you just see a picture of me and I'm not moving, don't worry about it. My favorite part of the Hall of Fame weekend and the induction, every year when I watch the enshrinement, is the older players, the ones who've waited 20 or 30 years to get in, because I really feel like it means so much more to them than some of the younger guys who get in like on their first or second ballot, because I think it's important that we remember they're the ones who started football. Without Claude Humphrey, you wouldn't have Walter Jones. Without the physical sacrifices they made to really get this game going in the early days, we wouldn't have the game that we love now. So watching Ray Guy get in, the first true punter, and hearing him talk about how you can now make a complete team with members of the Hall of Fame.
I got tears when he said
I know.
That. I was so choked up. I was like, no, don't cry, ruin it, don't cry.
And listening to Claude Humphrey talk about how he and his wife would sit together every year and listen to the announcement, and then when his name wasn't called, they'd go out to dinner, and then they'd forget about it again for another year, and that she passed away last year. So right before he was
No.
picked, and so he's thinking maybe he had a little angel up there helping him get in finally, and just the emotion for those guys and how much it means to them. It really reminds me to be thankful for everything that they've done. They didn't make multi-million-dollar contracts. They played for the love of the game, and you don't see that anymore. You don't see a guy play 12, 13, 14 years with the same team. It's just not the same since free agency. So the older guys are my favorite part of the weekend, and getting to spend time with them. I'm dying to hear about Liz's flight.
Well, speaking of Claude Humphrey,
one of my favorites.
Yes, speaking of Claude Humphrey, Liz, your turn. Tell us about your flight.
Oh, it was a true gift sitting with him, and how it all happened. I was on a flight from Cleveland to Chicago, and right when I was boarding, there was a gentleman and another lady about his age that sat down on right by the boarding area, and I thought, gee, that looks like Claude Humphrey. And then I looked at his hands. I took a quick look at his hands because I wanted to see, is there a ring? What kind of rings are on there? And, but there wasn't any rings. And then I thought, I don't know if because he wasn't in his gold jacket, so he looked a little different. But I was pretty sure it was him. And so then I get on the flight, and I'm talking to the lady next to me, and I have a seat by the window, and we're just in coach, and then she says, I don't know, maybe we'll get lucky and nobody will sit beside us. But then sure enough, the biggest guy on the whole airplane comes walking down the aisle and sits right beside me. So he cozies his way into the window and gets comfortable, and then a little while after takeoff, I started talking to him, and I bought some souvenirs that I was taking back, and so I had a Football Hall of Fame bag that was in the seat, under the seat in front of me. And so then I asked him, I said, so were you in Canton this weekend? And he just points to the bag. And I thought, oh, okay, so you were there. And I said, did you play football? Because I didn't know for sure if it was him, but I knew he was definitely a player. So I said, did you play football? And he looks at me and goes, mm-hmm. And then I said, are you Claude? He just looked at me and smiled, and so then right away, I had a whole hour with him. I chatted with him. He's just such a sweetheart, and he told me so many stories about the weekend and things like that. He said that he only got about 5 hours sleep the whole weekend. He said they were just going nonstop.
I'm sure.
Right from Wednesday until Monday night, so it was only about 5 hours sleep. He said his jacket got cleaned about 5 times. He says as soon as you get a little spot on it, then they just whip it away. But it was cute because he said that they were all supposed to wear dark pants, and he didn't wear dark pants. He wore light pants, and so he was actually kind of scolded for that. But he says he's always been a little bit of a rebel. The NFL always wanted him to get an email, and he never did that either. So it was just a lot of fun chatting with him, and I taught him a lot about female fans. I asked him, I said, do you think female fans are good for the NFL and for the players? And he said, oh, definitely. He said, it's good that they can sit down and watch the game with their husbands and learn the game, and then they can talk about it. And I said, well, at NFL Female is a little bit different than that. I said, these women are the ones that love the game, and lots of them don't have husbands. They're either single or their husbands don't even like the game. And so he was quite surprised by that. And that's what I'm finding is the main thing when I'm talking to people, is they have no clue that there's women that just love the game and know the game really, really well. So we talked about that. He doesn't like the direction the NFL is going. He thinks it's definitely more offense-oriented, and he's not too cool with that. But I told him that a lot of us women, we love the defense too, and he was really surprised by that. And so that was great. And then he also said he didn't think women should be playing in the NFL, and I have to agree with him. I think physically men and women's bodies are different, and I don't think it would be good for a woman to be playing in the NFL, but he did agree with me that line judges, refs, that was definitely a direction that females could take in the game. So we had a great conversation for an hour, and I didn't get his autograph. I didn't get a picture. It just didn't feel like that. I just said, it's a beautiful memory to have. And he said, if I'd known that you were there, I would have invited you and the other ladies with you. He says I would have invited you to the party, after the enshrinement, and he says definitely next year come and find him. He says because he would love to meet us all, and he wants to get us into some of the parties if he can. And he was really thrilled to hear about NFL Female.
Jen, you and I are totally there. Jen, you and I, we'll drive down together.
I'm not
fly
missing
to Detroit. Exactly.
And then there's even more. Okay, so then, and I was just snuggling up to him the whole time beside him. His sister was actually a few rows up and sitting on the aisle seat. So I was just snuggling up to him, and he was just so wonderful. And then on the next flight, it was a 4-hour flight, and I'm sitting next to one of the guys that is a project manager for special events for NFL.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, that's really great.
So I spent 4 hours learning a lot about the NFL, and he teaching him about NFL Female, and so that was definitely beneficial. I learned a lot, and he learned a lot, and I think that'll be great too.
The higher powers
cheer
work in
for my
mysterious ways. You were just destined to meet those people and continue to do the excellent work that you've started here at NFL Female, and it's really exciting to think about all the possibilities that could be coming up for you and for all of us.
And that's so true, because once I got home, I thought, you know what? Every single flight that I was on was a seat change, and either on my part or the person sitting next to me, and every person sitting next to me was involved somehow with the NFL. On the flight to Canton, I was sitting next to a gentleman who lives in Indianapolis but is a Green Bay shareholder. And he was heading to Green Bay for the training camp there to watch that and hang out with all his relatives. So it was really neat how it did all happen, and and they're all good connections for NFL Female. And so what I got out of the weekend is that NFL Female is a guaranteed success. So we're definitely going to do this, ladies. And we're on our way. So thank you to all of you.
Nice.
No,
Thank you, Liz, for being you.
Yeah. Claude Humphrey was one of the guys from the enshrinement that he just radiated such a good spirit, and he was so happy and grateful and excited to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. He was really fun to watch. He was inspiring and fun to watch, and definitely one of my favorites from being there over the weekend. And so I'm a little bit slightly jealous you got to meet him, but I think that it's fantastic.
It was a lot of fun, yes, and I am very lucky. And you know what? Your turn will happen. But it was pretty funny because Dana had just put a tweet out saying that at the airport she was right beside Andre Reed and said hello to him and congratulations. So I was like, hey, Dana, I got one up on you here.
Yeah, that's so great. We haven't had a chance. Let's bring Jennifer in and let her introduce herself. And we lost Kate. Kate will be back to talk with us. And Kate she didn't get a chance to really talk, but she is our official fan reporter for the Cleveland Browns, and really knowledgeable about football and the Browns. And Jennifer is also a reporter for us. Jennifer?
Hello. I write covering the 49ers, and I just got back from 49ers training camp, which was at Levi's Stadium. It was amazing.
Yeah, you're going to have to tell us about the new stadium. It does sound pretty wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
It is pretty fancy, but there are going to be issues getting in and out of there. And there were only 10,000 people. Yeah, only 10,000 people going to training camp on Monday. And over the weekend, 40-ish thousand people went to see the Sounders play the Earthquakes soccer. They ran out of food.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I don't think they ran out of booze, but they ran out of food, which is not good.
Well, if you're going to run out of something, let it be food.
As opposed to booze. So they kept the booze. But there's one road in and out of the stadium.
Oh, no.
Unbelievable for the most state-of-the-art
what were they
Ford
thinking?
Stadium. I have no idea. There were reports in the newspapers that it took people 90 minutes to get from their parking space to the freeway. It's a half a mile. It's a half a mile. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And just going into the stadium on Monday when I went, it was pretty packed because it's a north and southbound street and then one eastbound road to go to the stadium. So
now that's obviously not going to be feasible forever. Is this temporary or what?
It didn't look like there was road construction anywhere, so we'll see how this goes. The first preseason game will have, I'm sure, close to 60,000, so that'll be the true test of whether this little area in Santa Clara can handle this traffic going in.
Well, I wish Dana was here to hear this. Her son is actually a Sounders fan. They were at, Sharona, remember she was telling us they were at some soccer game in Kansas City, and he was wearing a Sounders shirt. It was some kind of like a USA team with a bunch of different players, and the Sounders players saw him sitting in the stand in his shirt, and like all ran over to him and said hello and took pictures and signed stuff. They were so excited to have somebody who knew who they were at the game.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that is very interesting information. Thanks for sharing that with us, Jennifer.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine that is going to remain the. I mean, what do you think fans are how are they gonna handle this?
I mean, you're gonna have to leave really early and maybe hang out at the stadium afterwards, but I think they're doing the same rules that they have at Jerry's World, where you cannot tailgate after the game is over. So if you can't hang out in the parking lot, where do you go? So it'll be really interesting to see what happens. Apparently all the public transit, because there are a lot of trains in the area, the trains were packed wall-to-wall human flesh for about 5 stops to and from the stadium. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they work this out.
Now, are there parking lots out away from the stadium where people can shuttle in or bus in and not have to deal with that?
When I might be losing a little connectivity here, but when I went in, there were only 10,000 people for the practice, and there was only one lot designated, one direction in. So I'm not sure how it's going to be for 70,000 people, whether it'll be, alternate off-site lots, but getting in and out still is, I think, going to be crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'd think they'd encourage the tailgating and hang out at your car in the parking lot to get less people. You don't want everyone leaving at the same time.
Right. So, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do.
But I'm sure we'll see a few less than pleased tweets coming from the Bay Area.
Oh,
yes.
Just a few, maybe.
Just a couple.
Well, maybe their phones will be out of battery by the time the game's over, so they won't be able to tweet angry messages.
Wow. Well, we know they might not run out of booze, so we'll.
Oh my God!
See how
Stuck in traffic for 90 minutes with no phone. I can't tweet and I can't drink.
Yeah,
rage.
Hey, speaking of training camp, and while Liz is still with us, and we hope she'll hang out with us the entire hour, Kate and Liz got to go to Brown's training camp. Liz's first day in town. So tell us about that. Liz, we'll start with you, and then Kate can come in.
Well, it was really great to go into the Browns training camp, and there was quite a few fans there, and it just was a really nice feeling around there, and people looked pretty excited about what was going on, and of course checking out the guys, and of course right at the beginning of these training camps, there's not a lot of stuff that they're going to give away. They're doing some basic drills and stuff, but Johnny Manziel, I thought he was definitely, out of the 4 quarterbacks that were there, I thought he looked the best as far as I could see. We weren't out there too long, but that was really cool. And then we were lucky enough Kate had arranged for me to go in and have a tour of the facility inside the head office and the training facility, the indoor one. And that was fantastic to see that. And it was really neat because when you first walked into the training area, because the guys who are in training camp, they all stay together. They live together, they eat together, they're together 24/7 when they're in training camp. And so they really get to know each other well. And right in the middle of, at the one end, they had about 20 beds set up so that the guys could, I don't know, maybe they sleep there at nighttime, I don't know. But I thought that was really neat.
They have an indoor 40-yard indoor field so that if it gets rainy or whatever outside and they need to move it indoors, they'll practice outside if it's just raining, but if there's lightning and whatever, they take them inside. And she's right, they had probably 15 or 20 beds, inflatable beds set up against the back wall. And Brent Stellick, who gave us the tour, said sometimes, the guys will nap between meetings. They'll have a little bit of a break in the evening, but then they have another meeting, so they'll just go, lay on the bed and crash. And then they have this really nice cafeteria that's open from breakfast until dinner time, and the employees that work in the building, the people selling season tickets and all the administrative stuff and the medical staff and the PR people, everyone that works for the Browns, the offices are connected to the training facilities and the outdoor field, and so they all eat lunch together in the same building. And so you'll see a football player having lunch after drills are done with some guy who is just up on the phone selling season tickets. So it's really fun. They've done some different things with camp this year, partly because of Johnny Manziel, and they just weren't sure how many people they were going to get, and partly from a marketing standpoint. They wanted to know, they want names and Twitter handles and email addresses for the people that are coming. This year you have to go online and register for training camp and get tickets. They're free, but you just have to sign up ahead of time. And
a lot of teams are doing that. That's definitely the move.
Yeah, we've never done it before, and they wanted to keep camp small, so they've limited to 5,000 people per day. They moved camp to the morning, so the gates open at 8:30, practice starts at 9:30, and it's done at noon. They used to be like 11 to 2, the hottest part of the day, so now you're really done before it gets too warm. I think Liz and I were both about to melt from the heat. It was actually hot in Cleveland, and I felt bad because I got her off her plane. I picked her up at the airport, and we drove, 7 minutes to where the facility is. So she's, jet-lagged and tired from all that traveling, and I'm like, let's go to training camp. So just as I think we were both about to melt, it was time to meet Brent, so we got to go into the air conditioning and see what was going on inside. So, they want to keep it small and intimate so that the players all go over and do autographs and stuff after practice, and, the media's all got their areas set up and that, but I told Liz she's got to start a bucket list now of training camps. She's got 32 on her list, so she's got one down and 31 to go.
That's right.
Yep. If you're going to go to the Niners training camp, we'll have to leave early.
We're going to get you one of those all-terrain vehicles, an ATV for you.
One of those monster trucks like they have at the rallies, so you can just drive over everybody else on your way out.
Yes.
Well, and the biggest difference between San Francisco's and the Browns, the way they do it, is the facility is located right on the edge of a college campus, but it's in the middle of a town. You park in a bunch of designated parking areas, and then you have to walk like 3 residential blocks by people's houses to get into where the camp is. And a lot of the people you can park in their driveway or on their lawn for $10, and the kids have lemonade stands, and people are selling stuff. And it's like, the community is as tied into, the team and this 3 weeks that they're going to have all these visitors coming in. And, I've talked to some of the people that live there, and they said they've never had a problem with, the people coming to camp. They're not, trampling their lawns or littering or any of that stuff. The people are just, it's got a very small town feel to it. And then you walk into this huge football field with all this orange and brown. They paint the main street that leads up to camp, instead of just having the white lines like you see on the street, it's got orange on the outsides of it. So the street looks like the center of the Browns helmet.
Oh, cool. Nice.
That's cool.
Nice.
That's really sweet.
It was a great experience. It was a lot of fun and very friendly, and the Cleveland Browns fans, they're fantastic.
Well, good. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Definitely. Jennifer, is there a ticketing process for Niners camp, or is it just open?
It was one day that was open. 10,000 fans entered a lottery, so it was one day that was open. I've heard whispers on the sideline of practice that it's kind of Harbaugh's thing to keep it quiet and low-key. The practice was very subdued, no announcing, no music. It was like a regular practice for them, but just happened to be at Levi's.
All right. Well,
yeah.
Well, maybe if my team ever gets good and actually wins more than 8 games, they'll start closing off practice and being a little more secretive. I think when your team's as bad as mine, you're welcoming any fans that want to come out and see you. And there's a tent to buy shirts, and there's music. There's hip-hop, and then country, and then heavy metal. I don't know who picks the music selection, but it was, and there's old people with oxygen tanks dragging behind them, and babies. I saw a 3-week-old the first day I was at camp.
Oh my
God! 3-week-old with her. So, I mean, it's just when your football team's that bad, you got to do something to make the fans happy.
Exactly.
That's good, though. It's a great way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the crowd at Levi's seemed a little sleepy just because it was so quiet. It was, it was a real practice. It wasn't for the fans. I mean, it was for the fans, but he didn't change practice around for the fans at all. It was what he wanted to do, and they did sign a few autographs afterwards. Anyone that was kind of near the railings, they allowed the players to go up, but really it was pretty quiet practice, and maybe because all the fans were sitting facing the sun and it was 2.5 hours of direct sunlight. They cheered when Frank Gore made a couple receptions, same with Anquan Bolden, a couple of interceptions by the defense, but other than that, people started retreating towards the cover just because they were all out in the sun for 2.5 hours. It's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they're not going to have any other open practices that are open to the fans, just that one?
Just that one practice.
Wow.
That's kind of unusual. Most teams do allow more fan access. So I wonder, is this typical of the Niners?
Yeah, they usually do one fan appreciation day or one fan fest. So at the Stick last year, they did one fan fest day.
And the rest were closed to the fans?
Yes, just media.
Wow.
Very interesting.
Well, that is.
Yeah, that's a little different.
I know. I've been watching all the, the footage on NFL Network and ESPN of, Oxnard. I mean, that Dallas training camp in Oxnard is just packed full of people every day watching. And, Harbaugh doesn't want it that way.
Wow, that's kind of, I suppose, the Harbaugh way.
A little bit, yep.
Yeah. It's hard to argue with success, but it is a little disappointing, I think, for the fans. And I mean, I'm sorry if I feel kind of bad for Niners fans.
Yeah, me too. I mean, here in Detroit, it's a big event. I mean, once again, it's probably because, like Kate said, our teams kind of suck for so long. We got to do something to make it fun. But, I mean, they've had guys, I know last year, I think, there was a guy who walked down from the Upper Peninsula down to training camp, and it took him, a week or two to get down there. So, I mean, there's
wow.
Yeah. And, they moved it around this year to Wayne State campus, which is where Drake Bell went. So that was kind of nice. And,
that is cool.
Yeah. So, all the fans got to go there. They did a practice over at Ford Field. So, I mean, or they're doing practice at Ford Field tomorrow night. So, I mean, they do a lot of stuff just really to get the team involved. And it's just so much fun,
Yeah, that's very cool. The Titans have, this year they had, I want to say 8, maybe 9 open practices, 8 maybe. And they're always pretty good. I'll have to go back and search my memory bank. Oh, that's kind of scary. I cannot remember a year where they did have training camp at Austin P one year, which was a bit of a haul, which is about an hour north of here, close to around Clarksville, Tennessee. But they're very good to allow the fans to come and see some of their training camp practices. And there's always a good crowd there, and I think that the fans really do appreciate that. I really have to say that the Titans do. They do their training camp stuff pretty well, and the guys, the players. I cannot recall a year where there were players that there are always guys who they're scheduled to give out autographs, but there are always guys who give out autographs even though they're not scheduled to do it, and who interact with the fans. And so I really think that they do a good job. I have 2 big thumbs up to the Tennessee Titans for how they handle their training camp. It's very fan friendly, and it's a big thing for a lot of people who go every year. And I have gone very, very seldom. This year is one of the few years that I've missed a lot of practices because I've been either going to Canton or something. Like I didn't go Monday they were practicing with the Falcons, and I didn't go to that because I had to elevate my foot.
Aww.
Right?
Poor baby.
Straight foot. So, yeah. So, Sonja, have you been able to make it to any training camp practices?
Well, actually, I drive by training camp pretty much every day on my way to work, so I can kind of see a little bit of
No,
what's
it's
going
so
on.
hard when you, yeah, it is definitely hard to do it.
It is, but if I can't, once again, hopefully next year I might be able to weasel out some time and be able to go down and see a couple training camps. Because I think it'd be so much fun, and especially like on their kids' days when and just have my girls go meet the players. I think that'd be so much fun. They'd love it.
I bet they would love it.
Mm-hmm.
My boss laughs at me because I schedule some of my vacation days each year around my sports.
I know a lot of people who do that.
Yeah,
now that my kids are, my baby's 21. So I don't have to take a half day off work to take them to the doctors or the dentist or the orthodontist. I don't have to burn my vacation doing kids' doctor's appointments. So I take off the Thursday that starts March Madness, and I go somewhere and watch basketball games that first day of March Madness. And then I go at least 4, if not 5 days of training camp. And with the schedule this year, I was able to only do them as half days. Last year, with it being an afternoon kind of a practice, I just took the whole day off. Slept in and went out. But this year I'm able to get up and out there, and then I leave about 11:45. It's over at 12, so I leave about 11:45, and I'm at work by 12:15, and so I can work the second half of the day. And so my boss appreciates that I'm only doing them as half days, but he thinks it's hilarious that I use my vacation days to do sports stuff.
I think that's appropriate.
I think it's totally cool.
That's totally normal, isn't it?
Yeah,
right?
I think so. Yeah. I couldn't wait for my kids to drive themselves to the orthodontist so I can that's 2 more half days I can do for football training.
Oh, goodness.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about what's coming out of training camp. Liz gave us her bird's eye view of Johnny Manziel. Kate, what else did you happen to notice from Brown's training camp?
Well, it's interesting. There's been a lot of talk here the last 2 days. They've had Johnny Manziel doing more reps with the ones.
I saw
so
that.
Everyone's like, "Oh, Johnny's going to start." You've got Dick LeBeau from Pittsburgh saying that they're game planning for the opening day for us is September 7th at Pittsburgh, and they're planning for Johnny to start and all this stuff. And he's made a lot of progress since camp started, but so has Brian Hoyer. And they're both learning a brand new offense, but Johnny's learning how to read a playbook, period. And Brian's just has to learn the new terminology of someone else's offense. So I think Brian's job is still secure. They released the depth chart today. Apparently they have to. All the teams had to release today their depth chart leading up to this weekend's preseason game.
Right.
So Brian Hoyer is still listed as #1 on the depth chart. Ben Tate's our top running back with Terrence West in the second spot, which seems to be surprising a lot of people here. Deion Lewis looked really good in preseason last year and then got injured and missed the whole season. He may not even make the team. He's listed as either 4 or 5.
But Terrence West is going to be a beast.
He is, and I love him.
And such a great story. He's such a great story.
We've got like 3 or 4 guys from Tosin on the roster and stuff.
Oh, yeah?
We've got a couple of South Carolina guys, and so they're all bonding together. And when we were on our tour, Brent told us that Johnny Manziel is rooming with Joel Bitonio, the offensive lineman that we drafted at training camp. So I just think it's funny that little Johnny, as we're all calling him, because when he stands with the other 3 quarterbacks, he's little.
He's little. He's a little elf.
He's not little to me and you, but on the football field, dude's little. And, you got to be able to see over the 300-pound guy standing in front of you. So that's, still waiting on the Josh Gordon thing. I think that's the biggest problem we're having is Josh was back at practice yesterday, and it could be 3 weeks before we get a ruling on this, and it's just so unfair. I think I'm leaning now towards leniency. I have to think if they were just going to give him the whole season, they would have done it and been done by now. He's out for the year, get over it, move on, make a new plan. And the fact that we're still in limbo and he's still trying to get reps, he was playing with the 3s last week, and then today he was taking some reps with the 1s and 2s. So they're trying to work him in a little bit just in case we get him this year. But Miles Austin is coming along real nice. Nate Burleson has been
I love Nate, and I know Sonja does too.
And he is such a class act. He did an interview with a couple of the radio stations yesterday, and he's just he's really embracing the fact that he's a 12-year veteran. And yes, he'll have contributions on the field, But even if he's not getting that much playing time, there's so much he can teach. We've got young wide receivers who've got no
I
experience.
love
They're about
guys
to
like
play in their
that.
first game, and he's
exactly.
embracing it. And so I think he's going to be a really good influence, as long as he stays away from the pizza. I think
Yeah,
that.
he has to have it delivered.
No,
Yeah, but for right now, no pizza.
No
and
PWIs, no PWIs, no pizza.
Only if he has it delivered. He's got to have it.
That's right.
Exactly.
I'm just falling into the same trap I fall into every year, which is I'm so hopeful and excited for this team that maybe we can finally be 8-8, and I'm probably going to get 4-12 again. But it's a little concerning because the defense has looked so good at camp, and if our offense can't score on our defense, which is probably a top 5 defense, we're going to have trouble scoring on everybody else. So the offense definitely needs some work. And, this is our 3rd year in a row with our 3rd different head coach and our 3rd different offensive coordinator. And
crazy.
We're starting all over again. And, while all that's new for the defense, it's a lot easier to put a new defensive scheme into effect than it is an offensive scheme. There's a lot less the defense. Look and see who's got the ball and then go get the ball. It's basically, if you can do that on defense, you'll be all right. And so, it'll be interesting to see how much time Justin Gilbert gets Saturday. He was the corner we drafted in the 1st round to be opposite Joe Hayden. I'm sure Joe will have his hands full with Megatron. I'm not sure if they're going to start Justin or let him just watch a little bit and then bring him in slowly because it'll be his first game. And definitely not going to want him anywhere near Calvin. So not a rookie in his first outing. We got to leave that to the pros. So,
all right. All right.
Offense is a concern. I could talk all day. Well, let Sonja talk about Detroit.
Well, let's bring Jennifer back in and let her. She told us about the stadium. Jennifer, tell us a little bit about what you got to see. There's a little bit of what going on. What you got to see from the Niners on the field.
So Kaepernick didn't take too many snaps. The other 3 did. There's Josh Johnson and, of course, Blaine Gabbert. And
I heard Blaine kind of stunk it up.
He's not great. I wasn't that impressed.
Can't believe you let my boy Colt McCoy go.
I know.
He's the cutest little clipboard holder ever.
No, we've got the cutest. We've got clipboard Jesus.
Oh, I forgot. You do.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's right. Well, Colt McCoy is probably about Johnny's size, isn't he?
Yeah.
They're about the same size. Yeah.
I think he's holding a clipboard in Atlanta.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think somebody else picked him up to hold clipboard, so it's a good spot for him.
Yeah. The safe spot.
Yes.
So the veterans didn't take a whole lot of snaps. The ones didn't, Vernon was out there a little bit. I mean, all the guys, Anquan, they took some snaps. I was really excited to see Stevie Johnson play a little bit more. They all took a few reps. The wide receiver that got the most looks, though, was Quentin Patton.
I started to say
so
I heard he was doing
only been around a couple years, but
I am a big Q-tip fan here.
Well, funny thing was, when he interviewed with the media, he put his grill in on the bottom.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. So, but yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, because he didn't have that in when he was practicing. So, anyways, funny tidbit from, the media interviews. But, yeah, he got the most looks with all 4 quarterbacks. So, I don't know if they're just not giving a lot of the reps to the ones, but he got the most action out of all of them on the field at Levi's. So,
how did Vince McDonald look?
He looked pretty good. They didn't use him as much as they used some of the other new guys. Kerr got a few snaps. There was a lot of other guys that kind of shuffled in and out. So, interesting technique by Harbaugh. He doesn't want to give anything away.
Is Tank Carradine on the field yet? And what about Marcus Lattimore?
Lattimore is not. Bowman was in workout shorts, but didn't suit up at all. Crabtree was nowhere to be seen. Apparently he's rehabbing in the facility. And Ian Williams was not seen either. So it'll be interesting to see who takes over. And, with Glenn Dorsey out, it'll be interesting to see. A lot of guys are getting ready and prepping to take over his spot because he's going to be out for the year.
Yeah, so
who should I be looking as a late round wide receiver from San Fran for my fantasy football team?
Kasim Osgood, he towers over the whole crew. I mean, he looked good. He didn't drop anything. Stay away from Jewel Hampton as the running back late rounds. I thought he was going to be good. He had the dropsies for the first whole half of practice, cleaned it up in the second half, but yeah, at the first he was getting a lot of looks and did not hold onto the ball well. So
I love the inside information.
Very, very, very interesting. So what about now LaMichael James, a guy who's kind of been a little bit in the doghouse? Is he out yet?
Well, so he dislocated his elbow, so he's out for a month. And, you know, we lost Kendall Hunter the day after Kendall Hunter was injured.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
really
rough.
Unfortunate. He's got some bad luck. Right, the day after Kendall Hunter was pulled out, and he was waived yesterday, unfortunately, as well. Michael dislocated his elbow. Now, it's the same injury that he had in college, but the opposite elbow. So he knows how to rehab it. He's saying that he's going to be out maybe a month, but he should be back for the season. So, yeah, a little worried about his attitude. But maybe, I was thinking now that Kendall is gone, this is an opportunity to step up and, make a move. So, but, now being out for a month, he's got to wait for a little while to make those steps. So we'll see what happens.
That's really bad news for him. He made some noise in the wrong way last year with some tweets and things that he said. So I was kind of curious how he was, handling things. I had missed that he had gotten injured again. That's really sad. Did you get a chance? Is Tank Carradine on the field? Did you get a chance to see him?
He was out there. I didn't get a whole lot of views of him, but he was out there working out with them.
Okay. All right. Very good. Kate, give us a little bit of an update on your injury situation.
Well, I just had a question for Jennifer real quick. Harbaugh strikes me as the kind of coach that, when you start doing the tweeting and the off-the-field shenanigans and he puts you in his doghouse, that you're going to be there a while. You think that's about right?
I definitely think you have to earn your way back. But, he's kicked a couple guys out of practice, and they're back. Anquan got kicked out of practice for a little, kerfuffle, and he was back. And he actually talked about that in his press conference after practice. He said he's one of the most special guys that comes to practice and practices hard every day. But, they lay down the law for little scuffles at practice, so they had to kick him out for the day.
Speaking of scuffles, let's talk a little. What do you guys make of the Martellus Bennett situation? A veteran tight end for the Chicago Bears.
He's suspended indefinitely.
Has had a little bit of a interesting path through the NFL, but now he's suspended. He body slammed rookie cornerback Kyle Fuller. The suspension is indefinite. He's going to be fined as well. What do you guys think of that? Sonja, I'm going to start with you.
I was actually kind of surprised to hear that. I thought he'd at least have it a little bit more together than that. He is a veteran. And this is a rookie. How are you going to body slam a rookie? Yeah. I understand that there's hazing and there's stuff like that. Maybe he was being a little bit disrespectful, but body slamming your rookie cornerback in a team that really needs their
you don't eat your own. You don't want to hurt your own player.
Exactly. You don't do that. Nurses do that, not football players.
Yeah, Kate, what did you make of that?
I didn't understand the suspension. I think there's something more going on, and there's been some other issues, and this was sort of a last straw for them.
They did say he got into it with Brandon Marshall as well.
Yeah, we've had a couple kerfuffles here at camp, and Coach Pettin has talked about it, but they've been very quick. It's always been offensive guy versus a defensive guy, and then their whole units come over and break it up, and the coach says he likes a little bit of that. You're a unit first, and then you're a team. So he likes a little bit of that, and he doesn't mind, and he hasn't had to throw anybody out or fine anybody because the players themselves have policed it and stopped it. It's just been pushing. I can't think of who it was. Well, Sean Wallace took a swing at one of the veterans, missed him, but then you just saw this swarm of white grab him and back him up, and the swarm of brown come over, and so I think as long as the players themselves are cooling it down, that it's okay. you know, it's possible with Martellus, what you're running into is someone who is a veteran and is a leader on the team, is you don't want the other players to start to develop bad habits and to think that it's okay and to take things too far. And if he was told to stop and back off and he didn't, you know, if he got into it with Brandon Marshall and if they'd had words, if he and Kyle Fuller had words earlier in the day and then it exploded again on the field, you can't have that either. It's a very emotional game, and you want the players to be passionate and just to have that, you know, whatever you want. But you're right, you don't eat your own, not on your own team. You have to know, you have to be listening to your coaches and back off when they tell you to back off. So
well, and
I
it's
think
different,
it's more
you know,
than just this.
It's different when there's a little swatting back and forth as opposed to a body slam as well.
Yeah. But, because he had walked away from, and then there's video of this. He had walked away, and then he turned around and came back, and he caught Kyle Fuller a little unawares because he came back and grabbed him and slammed him down. And so I think that, because that shows, even though it was heat of the moment in a sense, it was also premeditated.
Yes.
In a sense. And you absolutely cannot have that. You started to walk away. That was the right decision. You should have just kept on walking.
That's why I think they must have had words or something else earlier in the day. It couldn't have just been, you know, because like you said, he was walking away and then something in his head was like, you know what, he's not getting away with whatever disrespect I think he did, and he went back, and that was the wrong call.
Yeah, that was surprising to me too. All right, so what do you want to talk about now, Sonja? I'm going to kick it back over to you and let you. We're getting close to being out of time, but we still got a little bit of time left.
We got a little bit of time left. And so, you know, I was trying to think of a couple questions that we could ask. And I know last week we kind of talked about AFC and NFC and which one was stronger. But this week, you know, I kind of thought about it a little bit, and I was like, you know, is preseason hype, does that set our teams up for failure? Does that set us up for disappointment sometimes in some cases? And, you know, I thought about Johnny Manziel and, you know, how he is being perceived. And, you know, all this hype, is this setting us up for, like, just disappointment? Or, I don't know, what do you guys think? Just preseason hype in general.
Jennifer, what do you think?
Well, you know, this is the one time of year of the season that everybody's undefeated. So everybody has hope. You know, it's the one time that, you know, even the team that had, you know, only won 2 games last year, everybody has hope. You get your draft picks, and it's exciting. So, I mean, I like it just because, you know, everybody gets a chance to be excited about their team, about their new prospects, you know, the new setups, maybe a new coach, maybe a new offensive scheme. There's just so much to look forward to. Whereas after maybe sometimes for some people after 3 weeks you're done, or maybe 6. But I mean, at this time of the season, I think it's great for everybody because everybody's involved, everybody has hope, and it's just, you know, sometimes our hopes are dashed and they break our hearts. But I like the fact that at least we start out with our hearts full.
Yeah,
that is true.
Kate, what do you think?
Oh, you know, we're all about the hype here in Cleveland. We live for the draft. We live for the preseason. Our bye is in week 4. So after 3 weeks, when that bye week comes along, is when, you know, if Brian Hoyer plays the first 3 weeks, that's when Johnny Fever is going to go crazy. We have to be short-sighted, and we have to have short memories here in Cleveland because, you know, we still go to the games. As sad as this team has been, we haven't won more than 5 games in 7 years. So, you know, we're still selling out, you know, an 80,000-seat stadium every Sunday. So I like the hype of preseason, but I tend to be the more level-headed in my friends and on Twitter, and I keep reminding people, you know, it's just preseason. Everybody looks good in preseason, and I get nervous in the fourth quarters. The fourth quarters of preseason games are like the worst for me because that's when I've got a couple good guys left, but mostly it's my scrubs, and they're going up against someone else's scrubs, and they're fighting for a job, and these are when guys are going to try to do more than they should because they want to get noticed and they want a job, and they're either going to get hurt or they're going to hurt somebody. And I just spend the whole fourth quarter hoping everybody gets through it without getting carted off on a stretcher. I'm like, stop, get him out now. So, you know, as long as we can get through the preseason without an injury, I don't know if y'all follow basketball. Did you see Paul George, that injury he took at Team USA? And all I keep thinking is, Kyrie Irving, come home. And so I'm the same way with football. I put Brian in for a couple series and then put Johnny in, and then they can sit the rest of the game because I don't want them to get hurt, and I have to keep reminding people, you know, we win preseason games and everyone gets excited, and I'm like, you know, just means my third-string scrubs were a little better than their third-string scrubs.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean I'm going to win. So I don't mean to burst balloons, you know, the hope balloons, but I try to manage my expectations. So when my heart gets broken, it's not completely shattered. It's just a little cracked.
Yeah, I like it's a shiny, bright, shiny new team. It's a new football year. I love the hope. I love the dreams. I love anything is possible. You are undefeated. I'm with you, Kate. I try to be realistic, but I like to be optimistic and hopeful as well. So, you know, there are winners and losers for the most part. We do have ties, but you know that you're going to win some and you're going to lose some. It's very rare to I mean, one team has gone undefeated, and hey, by the way, there were some undefeated Miami Dolphins at the Pro Football Hall of Fame ceremony. I thought that was kind of cool. So, what do you think, Sonja?
Well, you know, I think I'm a combination of all you guys. I love the hope. I love the optimism that we all have, especially as Lions fans. But, you know, then we often think about, remember that one time when they were 4-0 in the preseason, and then remember what happened, never won another game since.
That was rough.
Wasn't that rough? That was so tough.
I felt so badly for Lions fans. Oh, my gosh.
I mean, but you know what? The thing about that year was that, you know, a lot of us were just like, can you believe it? But towards the end, I think we all were kind of having a smidge bit of fun with it, even though I know a lot of people don't want to admit it. But I think some people were kind of having a little bit of fun with it as well. But I do like the optimism, and especially now with, like, we have a new coach, just a whole new staff. And so I just kind of want to see what's going to happen. Am I prepared for same old Lions? Sure am. But am I excited for brand new Lions? Yes, I am.
Well, let's face it. There are three teams represented in this show that haven't won very much here lately. Although the Lions have, you know, a little bit, and the Titans a little bit. Jennifer's really the only one who's got a consistent winner going for her. Liz, is there anything that you want to talk about? Any questions that you want to ask of us?
No, I'm quite happy listening to all of you talk about your teams. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I love this time of year. Football is back. It is a new NFL season. Anything is possible. All things are possible, and you know, the preseason games are. I love them. I know a lot of people don't like them, think that they're a ripoff and a waste of money and all that. I love to see the underdog guys out there fighting for that roster spot, doing everything that they can, you know, to get recognized, because really the key at this point for them is to get recognized, if not by their team, but by another team. And so I go to the preseason games. I stay till the bitter end. I'm out there cheering for those the threes and fours throughout the third and fourth quarters. I cheer for them as hard as I do for the ones and twos. And so, yeah, I mean, I love it. I love everything about football. So this is one of my favorite times of the year.
Do you think part of our excitement over the preseason is the fact that we have the longest off season out of any professional sports, and it's just finally we have football again. We've waited so long that we don't even care that it's preseason games, it's football.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I definitely think so. Well, the hour always goes by so fast, but we can't let the show end without letting everyone. We didn't really do introductions like we normally do because we just kind of jumped right on into it. But I want to bring Kate and Jennifer in right now to let them tell you a little bit more about who they are, some of the things that they are working on and writing about, and where you can find them, because they're absolutely great follows on social media. And Jennifer, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, on Twitter, I am at jenniferlchan. I'm just starting to put together my own website so I can put all my articles together. I've got a few connections now with 49ers, so hopefully we'll have a little bit more activity and connection there. Hopefully we'll get behind the scenes a little bit more. And I also do cover the USC Trojans because that is my alma mater. So, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a little connection with Reggie Bush, went to his pro camp this year. He was very, very nice. So.
Oh, cool. He does seem like he's very nice. And congrats to him. He just got married.
He got married.
Yes, to his.
Big congrats to Reggie Bush.
Yeah. So he was great, and I gotta say, for anyone that has any opportunity to go see an athlete or football player when they're doing charity work, it is the best time to talk to them. It's their guards down. I've had so many great opportunities going to pro camps, talking to the players when they're working with kids, and charity events where they're talking with all different people. It's a much easier way to get connected to your players.
Great advice. Yeah. Kate?
On Twitter, I am Cleveland Kate, at CLVLND, the letter A, just Cleveland but no vowels. I always tell people I thought I had to spend $2.50 a piece on those, like it was the Wheel of Fortune, so I didn't put any vowels in my name. I am the official fan reporter covering the Cleveland Browns for NFL Female, so all my Brown stuff can be found there. I have my own blog on Blogspot, just search Cleveland Kate. And I do, all kinds of articles. I write stuff about my family and my kids. And then during the college football season, I cover the Ohio State Buckeyes. So Friday, you will get a preview of whoever our opponent is for the week, so you know what to look for on the other side of the ball. And then Sunday's a wrap-up of the game. And I write about a number of different topics. I write about the Lake Erie Monsters hockey for More Than a Fan Cleveland. And the Triple Threat guys just asked me if I would write a column for them, so I'm going to do a column called Around the B1G with Kate, the Big Ten, and I'll have something on there each week about happenings that are going on in the Big Ten. I'm guessing Sonja's probably also a Michigan fan, so we get to fight about 2 different sets of football games this fall.
Go Blue!
All right, Liz, your turn.
I'm Liz Panucci, and I am the founder-editor of NFLfemale.com, and so you will find me usually hanging out on Twitter at NFLfemale, and I guess that's pretty much it. I'm on Facebook too, and then be sure to follow Marquita on Facebook because she does all the game day updates, and she's phenomenal. She's a Giants fan, but she's good at doing all the updates for everybody.
We'll definitely tweet out her information. All right, Sonja.
I'm Sonja. I am the official fan reporter for the Detroit Lions for NFLfemale.com. You guys can find me on Twitter at mom, 2, 3, RN. And then you can also find me and a whole bunch of other crazy guys writing for A Good Sports Hang. Me and Vier just previewed all the NFL, all the divisions, so check that out. And yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Sharona.
All right. Well, I am Sharona. You can follow me on Twitter at Sports by Sharona. I am the official fan reporter for the Tennessee Titans. Want to tell you guys that we have an exciting show next week. We are going to be talking to Katie Nida, who is the first female to score points in an NCAA Division I college football game. She was a kicker. Her uniform and cleats are in the College Football Hall of Fame, and she is great. She's fantastic. She has a truly amazing and inspiring story, and we're really excited to have her. You will find us every Tuesday night, the Zone Blitz, produced by NFL Female, www.nflfemale.com. Be sure to tune in next week, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Google Hangout and YouTube. Thanks for joining us, and have a very pleasant evening.
Night.
Night.